Now it's time for Movie Friends with your hosts Michelle and Seth. We're talking film without pretension. We're finding cats that are unexpected. We'll watch a movie, film, or schmovie, and we want you to join our journey. So subscribe and share this podcast, or this might just be the last of the Movie Friends. We're movie friends. We want to be your movie friends.
Hey, welcome to Movie Friends. I'm here with my friend Michelle Rubenstein, who is not just another bum from the neighborhood.
And I'm here with my friend Seth Vargas, who is a stinker, not a thinker.
Wow, okay. Hey, it's sports month.
Wow, we're here. Home run. Goal.
Goal,
Bing, bing,
touchdown.
Bing, bing.
Swish, nothing but net. Knockout.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Yeah. Popcorn. Get your popcorn.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Cracker Jacks. Is that what they sell?
Oh, okay,
at games?
yeah. Hey, beer here.
Yeah. Cold beer here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
It's funny that you are impersonating a man for just a job.
I know. Well, I guess that came off that way, but I'm just impersonating someone yelling in a Coliseum-like setting, trying to
okay.
get someone's attention that they are actually indeed selling cold beer.
Makes sense.
Do you want me to do my voice? Beer, cold beer here. Was that more feminine for you?
Wasn't as good.
It wasn't.
Yeah. Sounded like a kid trying to get me to buy them a beer. Which happens in this movie.
Yeah, sure does.
Anyway, what's going on?
You know how, we get on, we do our small talk about the weather, and mentally I feel like it should be the end of the year, and I feel like Christmas should be coming.
Wow.
Because mentally I feel like I've done so much in quarter one that it's time for the end of the year to be here. That's where I'm at mentally.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'm there. I'm actually surprised that we're getting further into the year. Whenever we start an episode, I'm always like, oh, what did I do this week? I'm always like, what did I do this week? I'm like, I don't think I did anything.
Oh, we watched the Andy Kaufman documentary. I went into the city and saw it.
That's right. You went and saw Thank You Very Much.
I did.
Directed by Alex Braverman.
Yep. There was a Q&A with him and Joe Plummer. It was great. And then you watched it on digital download.
Yeah. And we have been waiting to watch this since July of last year. Almost a year.
Yeah.
Because when we did our Jim Carrey series is when you started looking into Andy Kaufman, right? Was that?
No, it was around this time.
Oh my gosh.
Like for me personally.
It really has been a year.
No, for me personally, it's been a year of me getting deep into Andy Kaufman and my rediscovery because of watching Taxi and whatnot, and then listening to podcasts and research and anyway. But the documentary, Thank You Very Much, premiered last April at film festivals, and I think it did play in New York at one theater, and I was so sad I missed it. So we have been waiting for a long time to see this.
Yeah, I didn't see it in theaters, but I did rent it at home and watched it, and I loved it. That was great.
It was so good.
Oh, one thing I've been doing, since I've kind of molded my personal movie watching to the show, I started watching sports movies, and I just hit the ground running.
What'd you start with?
Well, I started with a Sylvester Stallone movie called Over the Top. That's about competitive arm wrestling.
Yeah, arm wrestling classic. Sandy Cohen loves that movie.
Right, from the OC, right.
Yes,
right,
of course.
Yes. So what I'm doing is, instead of just being like, I'm going to watch sports movies, I'm trying to watch movies covering as many different types of sports as I can find. So like, I haven't seen a lot of sports movies, as I'm sure you have not, as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this month is going to be a lot of us in the dark, I feel like. Well, not so much in the dark, but it's not our thing.
Yeah.
You did, what did you do? Jiu-jitsu? Taekwondo? Judo?
Jiu-jitsu. Good memory.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
Well, I did just list 3 different.
That's true. No, but my athletic output, if you will, stopped at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Started and stopped. Yeah. There.
Yep. One and done.
One and done. Like I never did soccer as a kid or got the oranges, as I've heard so much about. Yeah. They're always like, oh, you play soccer as a kid and you get to eat oranges. I never got that.
Oh, I just ate the oranges without the soccer. Straight to the orange bag for me.
Straight to the oranges.
Yeah, I did not do any sports other than playing sports with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to play, and this is I don't know why I find this funny about myself, but as a teenager, I used to play handball or wall ball, as it's called in some places, every day of my life. Because all you needed was a little ball, And
a wall.
And so my friend Chris and I, we would go to the local elementary school as soon as everyone was out. We'd play handball for like hours. It was great.
I'm just picturing you playing catch with yourself in the wall. That's handball.
Sometimes I would do that too. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. Oh, I did take tennis lessons.
Oh, rich guy over here.
Not really.
Do you remember when we went to your place to play bocce ball?
You played bocce ball with me?
Yes, you, me, Jean Marie, and Anthony played bocce ball.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I love bocce ball, and Aunt has named me the bocce bitch. Mm-hmm, and I have a bedazzled t-shirt that says so. I forgot I love
wear that
ball.
Next week if you have it.
Yeah, I will. I'll try to see if I can find that. Hey, if you find a bocce movie, could you tell me? Oh, you did?
I did. Yeah.
You watched it?
I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my list.
I might watch that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Hey, speaking of sending, we got an email. Subject line is, "It could happen to you, but should it?"
Ooh.
Hey, movie friends. It Could Happen to You is a movie that I watched several times and really liked as a teenager, but it had been almost 30 years since I'd seen it. So I was looking forward to revisiting it as an adult. I guess I enjoyed the nostalgia of rewatching, but clearly I have become quite cynical and middle-aged, because this time around, I really didn't care for the premise of the movie, and I was not invested in the love story at all. Oh no. We ruined a movie for someone.
Well, I get it. It is, I think, better for nostalgia purposes.
All right, and then they give us some breakdowns here. Charlie. I respectfully disagree that giving Yvonne $2 million was the right thing to do. It was not his place to offer to split his and his wife's lottery winnings, as it is clearly established that he bought the ticket at Muriel's request. If I were Charlie, I would maybe offer Yvonne $50,000 to $100,000. That would be huge, life-changing money, and it is in the spirit of doing the right thing. Although I maintain that he really does not owe this person anything at all. He managed to sell Muriel on the idea by telling her that everyone would admire her heart of gold, and I wonder if that actually plays into his own motivations, even subconsciously. Maybe it's important to him to be seen as a hero with a heart of gold. Very good point. I think at that point he was just manipulating Muriel because he thought it was the right thing to do, and he was like, how do I spin this so that she lets me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Muriel. If I were Muriel, I would be seriously pissed that my spouse offered to give away half of our lottery winnings to a random waitress, and I would definitely have questions about their relationship and his motivations. And then he immediately goes and spends the night with her at the plaza the first chance he gets? Muriel seems like a selfish, self-centered person, but she's not wrong to not want to split the money with her husband's supposed mistress. And I agree with that too. I think that we maybe said like there's this version of the movie from Muriel and Stanley Tucci's characters. Eddie's perspective.
Well, Eddie's definitely, I don't know if we need to see his perspective would be, his perspective would be funny, but like his logic would be so warped. I don't think he would have a leg to stand on, thinking he deserves to get money, even though they are married.
She should not have taken the money. There could be strings attached that she's not aware of. Charlie is a complete stranger, and Yvonne has no way of knowing if he is some kind of creep that might feel entitled to her time and attention because he gave her a huge tip. And didn't you talk about that? Because I said, I maybe cut this from the episode, but we were talking about like what we would do if we won the lottery.
Yes.
And I was like, I would pay off people's houses and their cars.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, because then you'd right? And I was like, yeah, so what?
And I know, but he's like, I would give you money. And I said I wouldn't take money from you to pay off my house or whatever because I'd forever owe you something.
Yeah, and to me, it's like, so what?
No. You say that now? Nope. No.
Back to the email.
Yeah.
Furthermore, Charlie is not a multimillionaire who can easily throw around large sums of money. He and his wife are working class people, just like Yvonne, and they could probably use the money just as much as she could. Why does she think it's okay to take a half of their lottery winnings? I'm sorry to dump all over this movie. I really did love it when I was younger, and it was quite jarring to discover how much I disliked it now. I wish that they had stayed closer to the true story where the cop and the waitress already knew each other and went in on the ticket together. The love story and lawsuit could still play out in the same way. That's a very good point. I would have found the movie much more palatable. Would you accept a $2 million gift from a stranger? Your cynical movie friend, Kate.
Well, first off, thank you, Kate, for taking the time to send us an email and also for watching a movie we covered and then coming to these new conclusions and sharing them. So
yes.
That makes me the happiest.
Listen, when an email comes in to the inbox and the name Kate is attached to it.
I know. You know it's going to be good.
I'm like, it's a good day.
It's a good day. Yeah.
I agree with you, Kate, about your switching around of the people, making it so that they know each other. It becomes less fantastical, which is clearly what they were going for. The story could have played out the same way if they knew each other. So, yeah.
And no, I wouldn't accept a $2 million tip.
I would. Absolutely.
No.
If it played out exactly this way and I'm Yvonne and someone comes to my job and they're like, I can't tip you, but I'll give you $2 million if I win the lottery. And then I see that person win the lottery that night and they show up the next day and say, here's that $2 million. I'd be like, of course I will. What?
Nope, because I'd be like, does not come unattached. Well, I am so weary of everybody. So
I'm weary of no one. So
that's why we make a good duo, Seth.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, everyone is good and wants to be friends.
I'm like,
everyone wants to give me $2 million.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, if you don't want to give us $2 million, but you want to send us an email, please do. moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And yeah, thank you, Kate, for that very well thought out. And again, I'm sorry that we ruined this movie for you. All right. Well, a movie that hasn't been ruined yet. Maybe. I don't know. I got some things to say. I will say that.
I'm sure you do.
Before we get into our discussion on Rocky, we're going to write down our guesses for what the other person is going to write. And you know what? I'm feeling pretty good.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't even have my rating. Spoiler alert.
I got it in the bag on this one, and I'm locked in.
I do not feel confident for you at all, but I'm locked in.
We got a real Apollo Creed versus Robert Rocky Balboa situation going here.
Robert?
The Italian stallion.
Italian.
And yeah, we're talking about Rocky from 1976. This is directed by John G. Avildsen, written by Sylvester Stallone, cinematography by James Crabe, composed by Bill Conti, edited by Scott Conrad, costume design by Robert Campbell and Joanne Hutchinson, with an apparent assist from Sylvester Stallone, starring Sylvester Stallone, Talia Shire, Carl Weathers, Burt Young, and Burgess Meredith. Michelle, why don't you not be a bum or a tomato and read the summary?
Robert Balboa is a fighter. He does small exhibition bouts around Philly, getting pulverized for $40 a pop. To make ends meet, he works as an enforcer for a local loan shark. Balboa is going nowhere, passing his prime with nothing to show for it. When he gets a once-in-a-lifetime shot at the heavyweight title, he becomes more than a fighter. He becomes a boxer. He becomes a hero. He becomes Rocky.
So this was a first-time watch for you.
Sure was.
You put it off so that you could watch it with your husband, Anthony, who's a Rocky head.
He is a Rocky head. It is. He was so excited to watch this, and he's like, you have no idea how hooked you're going to be. He's like, as soon as we end it, you're going to be like, we got to watch the next one and the next one. And then he went through like which ones are good and which ones are not. And honestly, I zoned out because, you know, me and numbers anyway. I'm
of course. Right. Yeah. Until you're in a world, somebody can say, you'll never believe what so-and-so does to so-and-so. And that was like you and me in the OC.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I have a question about you watching with Anthony before you keep going. Anthony, I would not describe him in any way as like a meathead type of person, you know, but he's very athletic and like very physically fit and travels around for like fitness competitions and stuff. When you were watching Rocky, did he get up and do push-ups?
He didn't because he was making us dinner.
Oh, because I had this like fantasy in my head. When it gets to the training montage, that Anthony was like so excited that he like jumped on the ground and was like doing the one-armed push-ups, switching behind the back.
But since we've watched it, he has brought up like us continuing the journey. And last night he's like, oh man, I bet you spent all day today thinking about the next Rocky. And I was like, I didn't though, jabroni. I didn't.
Okay, so future Rockies aside, how did you find this one?
I found it very interesting. It felt very much like an indie film. You know, we don't get any real big match until like the last like 15 minutes of the movie.
Yep.
It's a lot of exposition and building up and character building. It surprised me and it reminded me of Before Sunrise.
Oh, okay, sure.
Just talking and talking and talking.
What a great comparison. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. But definitely walking and talking.
Walking and talking. And I do like a walk and talk.
Yeah.
This is it's just a lot of talking.
Yeah, we start with a match.
Yeah.
But it's pretty brief. And then there's shots of sparring sprinkled throughout when we're at the gym. There's some training. But this is like maybe one of the reasons why I really, really enjoy this movie is because there's just so little sports to it.
Yeah.
You know, even when we have this big blowout with Mickey in the apartment and I'm going to teach you and I'm going to train you. It's not like we go to the next scene and he's actually teaching him and training him. We don't go into a lot of, you know, big exposition of different fighters and styles. And all that stuff is just kind of sprinkled in because Rocky never stops talking about himself and boxing. But yeah, you're right. Like this is an independent movie, you know, made for a very small amount of money. Sylvester Stallone writes the screenplay, and one thing that we talk about on this show is how when we discuss a movie, we try to discuss the content of the film and not just all the lore behind it, you know. And with Rocky, there's more lore than there is to the movie, you know, plot to the movie, right? And some of it, I think you really, really have to take with a grain of salt because Stallone has a history of exaggerating the truth, I guess I should say.
Embellishing.
Embellishing, yes. One thing that I heard, and I never forgot, one of my favorite film podcasts is Unspooled with Amy Nicholson and Paul Scheer. And I remember when they did their episode of Rocky years back, Paul Scheer told a story about how Sylvester Stallone wrote the screenplay for a movie called Cobra, and it was based on a book, and how because he wrote the movie, he wanted the books to put his name as the author of the book. And so, when I was doing our credits just now, I said, the credited costume designer, there aren't any on this movie. That's how like low budget it was. If you go to Rocky.com or whatever, they go into the Robert Campbell and Joanne Hutchinson side of it. But they're like, but Sylvester Stallone was really doing a lot of the costume stuff. And so you kind of start to delve into this territory of like, is this guy really doing everything? Or is he just this wonderkind who comes out and now gets to own the narrative and be like,
I mean,
I'm the real Rocky.
This is his first big film.
Yes. Yeah. He had been acting. He actually, if you look at his credits prior to Rocky, he has a ton of credits. He was actively working, in films. Some of them are really real walk-on parts,
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of them. It's not like he wasn't doing anything,
But this is the first screenplay he's written?
That was bought.
Bought. Okay.
He had been writing screenplays for a while and trying to get them. And so this is the part of the show, like I said, that we don't normally go that far into. But with Rocky, I feel like I have to talk about this. So let's go back in time. When we started Movie Friends, I had reached out to the director, Jeff Feuerzeig, who directed maybe one of my favorite films of all time, The Devil and Daniel Johnston, a movie that changed my life 100%, and asked him if he would do an interview. And he very graciously said yes. You can listen to it right now. Well, maybe not right now, but I'll put a link in the episode. Super nice dude. We had technical problems starting out, which was just like I wanted to like die inside. And he was so nice and patient, and we worked through them. Anyway, shout out to that guy. Really great guy. He made a documentary for the ESPN 30 for 30 series called The Real Rocky. And it's about Chuck Wepner, who is a real boxer from New Jersey, that was the inspiration, or like the main inspiration, for Rocky. And if you go back and listen to that episode, you'll hear Jeff talk about it. I'm also going to link to another podcast. He did another interview on a podcast called Past Our Prime on Chuck Wepner and his experience making the documentary. I'll put a link to that in as well. That's a really good listen. Jeff is just a really cool dude. I love listening to him talk and his perspective on things. But I really recommend you watch this documentary, The Real Rocky. It's so eye-opening, and it goes into the like decades between Sylvester Stallone and Chuck Wepner, of Sylvester Stallone acknowledging that it's based on him and then kind of backtracking. And then it's a great story that I don't want to like half tell here, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, I don't believe everything that Sylvester Stallone says about himself.
Got it.
Or the production of Rocky.
I'm not very well versed or read on anything Stallone or the Rocky series.
Yeah.
Like at all. So
yeah. Well, I mean, he says that he wrote this in like 2 days, basically, that he just like stayed awake and wrote the entire screenplay in one sitting, basically, and, banged it all out. It's possible. You could definitely do an outline like that, especially if you have an actual character as source material.
Right.
And like you said with this movie, it's kind of like a walk and talk. It's not like there's many, many, many scenes. I was actually pretty surprised as I was going through and watching this for my second time. I did the thing again where I write down every scene, and I was like, there's really not a lot going on here.
Yeah, we're using the same locations. So
Paulie's place, and we'll get to him. But yeah, it is this like really larger than life, rags to riches. Stallone talks about how he was going to sell his dog because he couldn't afford to pay the dog. And he really fought to be Rocky because he was like, I'm the only one who can play Rocky. There's a fantastic short that was made, I think in 1990, where Rocky meets Sylvester Stallone. And I'll try to put a link to that in the episode too. It's so bizarre and so weird. And you can see the differences in how they talk.
Wait, Rocky meets Stallone?
Rocky
Is
meets
Stallone
Stallone
making this short?
In a museum featuring the paintings of Sylvester Stallone, I believe.
I actually love this idea so much.
It's very silly, but you get this idea of like, okay, this guy's a little, far into his own juice. You know what I mean?
Full of himself, proud of himself.
Well, proud of him. Hey, look, you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
You wrote a great movie that you ripped off from someone's life story. And you won Best Picture. This won Best Picture.
Yeah, right.
So good. Be proud of yourself.
I mean, unless that short was meant to just poke fun of the idea. That's funny to me. That's really funny. Like if
it's very funny.
Me creating a character and me having like meeting that character with pictures of myself. That is funny.
Yeah. But yeah, you really see the difference in how they talk and like how much he puts on to be Rocky. Because I think sometimes people will think that Stallone just kind of is Rocky.
Yeah.
Like, forgive me for using this word, but Rocky is like a little dumb, you know? He's very charismatic in his speaking, but especially as the films go on. And I would just love if you continued with these movies, mainly for Talia Shire.
Who I love.
Just more time with her and Paulie and kind of where everything goes. But
it's interesting. Like I'm more interested in continuing this story, not because any of these characters, but because I love Milo Ventimiglia and I love Michael B. Jordan.
And you want to get to the end?
Yes. I want to get to them because I love them.
Got it. Yeah, I watched Rocky so out of order, but I watched Rocky 3 first. Then I watched Rocky Balboa, which is the one with Milo, which is like old man Rocky. Then I went back and watched 1 and 2, and then 4, and then 5. And I haven't started the Creed movies yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I wanted to finish them all in order and then start Creed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And everyone was like, "You don't need to do that." And I was like, "You don't know how my mind works."
Right. You need to
I've already screwed up this order. Like, please.
Sure, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sylvester Stallone as Robert Rocky Balboa. What did you think?
As much as I didn't see this movie, or as much as I haven't seen this movie, I feel, and what you just touched upon, like the lore of it, not so much Stallone, but just knowing Rocky as a franchise. Yeah. And so I kind of knew what I was expecting. I kind of knew what I was getting into with how he carried himself. And obviously I've seen clips and memes and the stairs and the training sequence and how he talks. But I can't picture anybody else playing this character.
Right. Oh, yeah.
What caught me, I will say, off guard in a very good way is what I hope is his love for animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love that he has these turtles, Cuff and Link, and a fish named Moby Dick, and he has them hang out. Like very early on, when we're learning about Rocky through walking home, and we get to his apartment, and he has the animal tanks together just so they can hang out. Like that melted my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he's not just going into the pet shop to lure Adrian, but it seems he does have a love for animals.
Right. The movie works on building towards this impossible task, with this fight with Apollo Creed, right? In real life, Chuck Wepner fought Muhammad Ali, who, is Muhammad Ali, right? The greatest of all time. And the story was that he knocks Ali down in either round 7 or 9, steps on his foot in the process, which is, can't do that. And Ali would say that's the only reason he went down. And then just got pummeled by him, because it was a lot like in this movie where Apollo's like, I just go in with anybody. Like, who cares? Just get me a fight with somebody. And at one point, Apollo says, he's like, I might retire after this and, run for emperor or whatever, right? Clearly, he's got all these aspirations past boxing. So he's going into it, Ali, not as hungry, right? He had just done the huge like Rumble in the Jungle fight with George Foreman, which is like the biggest boxing match of all time, and he didn't really train for it. Meanwhile, Chuck Wepner and Rocky in the movie is like, I'm going to train incredibly hard. I'm going to train more for this than I've ever trained in my entire life. And so they met, and it was a totally like, one guy was like, hey, this is just a fun show. And the other guy was like, I'm going to kill you.
Right. Right.
So we're building towards this like impossible task. And the way that they, endear you to Rocky is through showing that he really is this really nice guy, and that he's very poor. He's very down on his luck. But at the same time, they're showing that he's like breaking people's thumbs for money.
His job, yeah.
His relationship with Adrian starts out absolutely insane and crazy. And it's the type of thing where it's like, okay, well, it worked out. We know because we're watching Rocky.
That's
that
right.
He's a nice guy. But Adrian, in those moments, it's like, here's this guy who's like pestering my brother Paulie's friend, who's always coming in and harassing me and telling me jokes that he wrote the night before. And I'm telling him I'm uncomfortable and I'm leaving his apartment. And he's like putting his hand on the door. Like all of that stuff from her perspective is insane. Right. And so everything like quote unquote works out in a way that we feel good about the story. And that's really interesting to me that Stallone puts these conflicting ideas in there to make Rocky kind of like a more full person, and for it to not just be a super sweet, super normal story.
Yeah, but do you think at the time Stallone, well, maybe this isn't what you were going at, but maybe we could just talk about it for a sec. But Stallone writes that how he courts Adrian. And do you think he's thinking, oh, this is a sweet way of what this character's doing, seeing her for who she is, breaking her out of her shell. The hero. And it does work out. We get the resolution of what we wanted. She does break out of her shell. She becomes the support system. But like, that's a very interesting viewpoint to write your main character.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, her perspective, and I was incredibly uncomfortable during that scene. And Ant's like, it was a different time. And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
But also, and I also understand, sorry, Seth. I also
No, keep going.
No, I also understand that this is not her story. We don't really get to know her at like bare minimum. This is Rocky's story. She is the support system. This is her loving him and so forth. So
exactly. Yeah. And that's why I kind of hope that you'll continue, because Adrian gets more to do. Mm-hmm. Now, Sylvester Stallone says that the original premise for Rocky 2 was that Rocky was going to run for mayor of Philadelphia, that it wasn't always going to be about boxing. And Rocky says when Adrian's talking to him, she's like, why do you box? He's like, well, because I can't, sing and dance. But then he also says the only thing I ever wanted out of boxing was to prove that I wasn't a bum and I wasn't a loser. But I do agree with you. The scene with them is very uncomfortable. And, your question was, do I think that Stallone in 1975 or 1976 was thinking, this is really uncomfortable, blah, 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 blah? Or was he thinking, oh, this is romance. This is romantic.
This is romantic.
I think I would probably lean more towards that. But he does include, and who knows if this is Talia Shire maybe inserting, who knows? But he does include her saying, I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to leave. He includes her saying, I got to go home. I'm not coming in. And he's like, oh, I got to go too, to the bathroom. Come with me. All of those things are included. It's not just that Rocky comes onto her and she just immediately like withers and melts. And she's like, I love you. Kiss me,
yeah,
please.
But it's the fact that she says she's uncomfortable and yet he puts his hand on that corner and goes in for it. Like, take off your glass. Like, he keeps pushing it.
Yeah.
And again, that could be seen as romantic of, oh, I am shy and this guy is going to keep going because he thinks I want this. I'm just afraid of it.
Right. Yeah. And, we as I mean, I was going to say as men, but really it's everybody should know this. When somebody says no, when somebody says they want to leave, when somebody says
I'm
any of those things,
uncomfortable.
you have to stop. You
Of
know what I mean? Like,
course.
it's not a matter of like playing hard to get or
No.
flirting or being cute. If a woman says, I'm uncomfortable, I need to leave, you got to stop, right?
You would think.
But not Rocky Balboa.
Nope. Rocky's like, I got this, Adrian.
Yeah. And like I said, like it quote unquote works out, right? But it's again, it's a wild place to start. And I will say Sylvester Stallone didn't say, I want to make a fairy tale Disney movie. He started out by saying, what movies are being made right now and what is popular? And one of the things that he cited was Easy Rider, which is not a movie about good, nice people, heroes. The 70s for American cinema was all about dudes who suck, like just across the board. And, you know, I'm not trying to give him like all the credit in the world. It's just so fascinating to me how he like I said, he includes all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we end in such a place where we're like cheering for Rocky. We're like, yes, yes, yes. This is a feel good movie, but it's really not. Paulie and Adrian and Mickey and Rocky, apart from that, the moments in the ring, this is like such a tragic, depressing story.
Yeah. I'm trying to find grounded, maybe.
Very grounded. Yeah.
Not.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say depressing, just kind of realistic. Of this is real life here.
Yeah. Yeah. And in real life, you know, your hero guy sometimes. I mean, the whole scene with him and Marie, the little girl, you know, he's like walking through the neighborhood with her being like, hey, you know, don't hang out with those guys and all that stuff. And I see absolutely like where he's coming from.
Yes.
Right? This isn't like the Andy Griffith show, right? Where the dude dispensing the wisdom is like on a moral high ground and he's going to like take this person under their wing and like save the day. Like Rocky is breaking people's thumbs for money and he's trying to help this girl, but it's complicated. It's complicated in the way that he does it. She doesn't turn around and say, thank you, man. Like, wow, you really, what does she say? Screw you, creepo or something?
Yeah, she says, thanks, Rocky, because he essentially walks her home.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing a good thing. And then she says, and I took that as, oh, Rocky, like the neighborhood dude who's just going to like give you advice, buy you, you know, we're trying to get him to buy us beer or what have you. And then she goes, you're like, calls him a creepo.
Yeah.
Kind of calling him out for doing what he's saying not to fall for.
Mm-hmm. Probably going to be a very unpopular thing for me to say, but like I do think that this fits into the 1970s American movie style of movies about dudes who suck. This one just so happens to be heartwarming and rousing, and we're like, yay.
Yeah.
And he is sweet. He is sweet, but he's not only sweet. I guess I'll say that. And that's what I meant about like the conflicting ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has a good heart.
Yeah.
He's coming from a good place for what he thinks. And then his job is just a job.
$40.
$40.
7% tax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Talia Shire as Adrian. How did you feel about her?
I loved her. I mean, I wish I got more of her, but yet again, this is not this movie for her. And like you said, like we've talked about, it worked out for her. I mean, it's a very as soon as he courts her, they go on a date, they kiss, we're together now. We're supportive, we're together. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I liked her, but I don't really know her either.
Yeah, you know, when he's talking with Marie, it comes right after we see him watching Apollo Creed on TV. And Apollo Creed says to the kids, don't go into sports. Become a doctor or a lawyer. Carry a briefcase, right? So he's giving advice, and then Rocky leaves the bar, and he's like, "I'm going to give some advice." But he talks about, you know, the difference between hanging out with guys and having a boyfriend. And after his date with Adrian, the next time we see them together, they're watching the announcement on TV, and he says, hey, can I give a shout out to my girlfriend?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you said, it's just instantaneously like we're together. We are a unit. And I loved Talia Shire in this. She just breaks my heart in every. I'm like drinking every moment that she is on the screen. When we're in the pet shop and she's like got the glasses, you know,
and she's just quiet. She's just quiet. Everyone's just tossing around the R word, which I'm not going to say here.
Yeah.
We're just speaking because she's 30 or near 30 and she's single.
And that's where we get into this was a different time.
Yes.
Like all of those perceptions about her.
Yes.
You know, where now we would probably just be like, oh, Adrian's probably like neurodivergent and who cares?
Right.
Leave her alone. She's a totally nice, normal person.
Totally functional. Like there's no issues with her. And also like, you know, this guy coming in with his bad jokes every day. We don't want to deal with you.
Yeah. And that's, you know, like you were saying, we don't see Adrian apart from Rocky, right? So we don't spend time with her. Maybe she's different with other customers.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Maybe we see her with Rocky and with Paulie.
Right. Yeah. But I love her. Like, we've talked about her with all 3 Godfather movies and how much we love her in those. And here, like I said, I love every outfit that she wears. I love every moment. You know, oh, I got a turkey in the oven. And then Paulie throws the turkey out the door.
That whole scene, I was screaming.
Yeah.
I was so annoyed from a logistical standpoint.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, we'll talk about Paulie, but when she's skating and she's just watching her own feet and she's focusing on skating despite Rocky like talking to her ear, every moment of her I love. We don't do like MVPs on this show, but to me, like, she is this movie. And I think she's part of what makes us love and root for Rocky.
Oh, for sure.
To do the impossible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's the heart. She's the heart.
She's the heart. She's the prize. She's the reason. She's the motivation. She is all the things that prove that he's not a loser and that he can have a normal life and that he, you know what I mean? Like, her not completely rejecting him is like, you know, what else could he ask for in life, basically?
Right.
And, you know, that's pretty pathetic. I think a person should have their own life.
I think so. Yes.
And everything shouldn't be hinging on like, oh, you know, one person liking me. But I also have been motivated by one person liking me, and like the elevation that brings to your existence. You know, I don't want to downplay that either. I think people can be real cynical about love, but you know,
no, it's a pretty powerful tool in feeling.
Yeah. When you're proud of the person that you're with, like Paulie's talking down about her and other people around town are like, oh, she's stupid and all this stuff. When people are talking down, but when you're proud of that person and that person is proud of you, it's like, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love when she finally unloads on Paulie.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what do I owe you? Like, I do everything for you. What are you talking about? Love that she does get that. Like, it's in a real frantic scene, and so it might be kind of gets pushed away a little bit, but I love that she gets to like actually have a showdown with Paulie, and then she's like, I'm out of here. Like, I don't
yeah, do you want a roommate?
Yeah, I don't need you anymore.
And this also makes me think, like, she's not this person who's just stupid, meek, and shy. Like, she has a voice.
She just hasn't used it up until this point, and you know, it's because her brother's an insane, abusive, horrible person. And then I know that this is very bottom tier important stuff, but as I mentioned, her outfits are insane in this movie.
They're great. I mean, the jacket that she's wearing when they're ice skating. I want that whole outfit, actually.
Hat?
And the skates were silver, I think. They were like sparkly silver. I don't ice skate, but I want them.
Yeah.
The red coat she wears. It's great.
Her final outfit.
Yeah.
With the ruffly shirt.
So good.
And the hat and oh my God. Yeah. The way that she's shot. And I mean, obviously we're doing this thing of like, oh, I'm in love, so now I'm beautiful.
I know, we don't wear the glasses.
Thing, right?
I wish we kept the glasses on.
Right, because glasses do not make you ugly.
Right, exactly. Right. You're nerdy with them.
Right. Which it's like, okay, so you're wearing contacts now, I guess?
I know, or you just not be able to see.
Why do you need to see when you've got Rocky?
Exactly. You just listen to him talk.
But the way that she's shot in Philadelphia streets and in the locker room of a boxing match and with her outfits really does like highlight her and bring her out to, I think, help us see her the way that Rocky sees her, which is like the most beautiful thing in the world.
Yeah.
Or in his world.
Yeah. And I also thought it was interesting, and it could be taken two ways, I guess. Mickey tells Rocky, like, no women. You need to drop your girls. What does he say?
Hold on. I wrote it down. Women weaken legs.
Women, yeah. So, okay. All right. We're given
What does that mean? What does that mean?
It's going to distract you.
Oh, okay. Because I thought he meant like literally like if you have sex, it will weaken your leg muscles.
I mean, I don't know the science behind it, but I just took it as women will distract you. And Rocky absorbs that, but never does he make a change with his relationship. And I thought that's where it was going. I thought he was going to, this was going to be a source of tension, and it's not. And so it's like, oh no, Adrian will always be number one. And this is establishing that. That was a very good Mickey impression because his voice is incredibly unsettling.
Burgess Meredith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who we have talked about very briefly on Camp Nowhere. He is the guy who rents them the camp for the summer.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Can we talk about Mickey for a hot second?
Absolutely. Talk about Mickey for 2 hot seconds.
Okay, 2 hot seconds on Mickey. Mickey is wearing this beanie that I don't know how is staying on his head. I took screenshots of it, right?
Yeah.
Anytime we're in the boxing gym, we're wearing this beanie. We're in the ring, we're wearing the beanie. When we leave and go outside, okay, and we travel to Rocky's apartment, no beanie.
Well, you're not in Mickey mode.
No, that's when you are in Mickey mode.
But he's approaching humbly.
So beanie means like beanie.
Beanie is in charge. Okay, like look at me right now, okay?
Yeah.
Right? I'm in charge. Who is this guy?
So if you were going to come to my house to pitch me something, you're coming sans beanie.
Well, he's coming. I think he's coming humbly because he's just been trashing Rocky for years.
And me, I'm like, yo, it's winter. Why aren't you wearing the beanie outside? Right. That's when you should be wearing the beanie. I don't understand wearing the beanie indoors because your head would get so sweaty and hot, and it's like barely on there. This does not matter to Rocky. This is the stuff I know.
But as somebody who wears a beanie all the time.
Okay, that's it. That's all I have on Mickey.
It stays on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mickey rules. He calls him a tomato.
That's Anthony's brother's favorite part. And Aunt paused that part when we were watching. He was like, Dan and I used to rewatch this scene over and over and over when we were kids.
It's great. Rocky has had the same locker for 6 years. He just shows up and it's not his anymore. Mickey's working with Dipper. We need the Dipper story.
We need the Dipper story.
Yeah, the up-and-coming guy who gets pushed to the side once Rocky gets a title shot.
Oh, you're getting money? Bye, right, Dipper.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm going to dip you, Dipper.
That's right.
But, Rocky approaches him. He's like, hey, what's going on here? And he's just like, you suck. You're a bum. You're a tomato. Calling him racial slurs and stuff. It's like, I love this guy. I love Mickey. And, Mickey at this point, no shade to Burgess Meredith, but at this point, Mickey looks like he's about 170 years old. And later on in the film, he's like, I'm 76.
I was like, are you though?
You and I talk about all the time how people in the past just looked ancient. I sent you an actor the other day, and I was like, how old do you think this person is? And you guys were in the ballpark, but he was like 34 or 35. And genuinely, this guy looked like, I would have said at least 65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, Burgess Meredith kind of looks like, if anyone has watched the animated Hobbit movie from the 70s or 80s, Burgess Meredith looks like one of the elves from that. Like, just every part of his face is like gnarled and twisted on itself. They give him a cauliflower ear prosthetic, which I think he calls like, he's like, yeah, he's the one who gave me the vegetation here or something. But I love him. Like, I love Mickey, warts and all. I wish that I had a Mickey in my life. Like, I wish that I had a dude of questionable morals who just yelled at me.
And ultimately knows what he's talking about and just wants to make you better.
Absolutely.
In the skill that you're working towards.
Yeah. He's going to put strain on your feet.
Yeah.
But he's great. And Mickey continues for
I would
the
hope
movies.
so. I would hope so.
Yeah. And I do really love that scene. And it is kind of interesting the way that it's written, where it's not Rocky going to Mickey being like, I need you. I'm sorry I screwed up. Please help me. It's Mickey coming to Rocky and being like, you need me. I'm not going to really apologize. And then Stallone, I think it's the best acting from Stallone in the movie, after Mickey leaves and he's just yelling at him and he's like, 10 years, you don't come to my place. You know, you think my place stinks. It does stink. And he's just, and you can see all the stress that is on him, like socially and from the fight. And it all kind of comes out, where prior to that, he's just a nice guy. He's like, hey, yo, hey.
Yeah.
And then you finally get to see him.
The shot that follows, him running out and we don't actually hear the dialogue in the street. I thought that was beautifully shot.
Yes.
It's like, holy moly.
It's framed great.
Wow.
Like, they're just off in the corner. You don't hear what they say, but they briefly hug and then they shake hands and then we move on, you know?
It's great.
This movie looks great.
It really does. It
looks really good. A common misconception about this film is that this was the first use of Steadicam. People say that Steadicam was invented for this movie. It was not. Sorry to burst your bubble. It was actually used first on another film, Hal Ashby, Bound for Glory, which is a Woody Guthrie biopic.
Oh.
Yep.
Nice.
All right. The belle of the ball, the star of the show, the villain. I mean, really, truly the villain of the film, because Apollo Creed, who we'll talk about next.
He's not the villain.
Apollo's just a guy.
Yeah, he's
the world champion.
I mean,
and he's actually nicer than a world champion you would expect. You know what I mean?
Super deep and smart with his marketing plan. And
absolutely. You know what? Let's just talk about Apollo first. Let's save the best for last. Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed. He's got a fight coming up, and then the dude has like broken hand stuff, so he can't fight. And like you said, he's just kind of a marketing genius.
Yeah.
In the bar, the bartender says like, oh, you know, how come we don't have real boxers anymore? He calls him a racial slur and he calls him a clown. And Rocky defends him. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, that's the world champ. Like, what on earth? And I don't think the film really ever frames Apollo in a negative light. I don't know how.
No.
Yeah.
I don't ever get that. Even at the end when we're like rooting for Rocky, you're not necessarily rooting against Apollo.
No.
So that's interesting, because usually you're rooting against, like if you're rooting for the underdog, it's because the top dog is a weenie and has this persona that like you just want someone to take them down. That's not the case here.
No. You know, if you go to like the Mighty Ducks, slobs versus snobs. And you get that all the time in sports movies. You know, the Mighty Ducks, the other team, they have like the nice jackets and they're the rich kids, and the Mighty Ducks are skating around with egg cartons on their face. You know, and we get like a little bit of that. You know, when Rocky's beating the meat And then Apollo's team is like watching on the TV, and Apollo's talking about sending flowers to the mayor's wife, and I'll make sure there's a photographer. We get the contrast, but Apollo isn't like a guy who needs to be taken down a peg in this movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even when they're fighting, and Apollo's like, I think he broke my rib.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't come into the fight like, I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna embarrass this guy in front of his whole neighborhood. Where any other sports movie, that would be him.
And a very heightened an exaggerated character. This is not that at all.
He comes in dressed like Uncle Sam.
Yeah. Well,
he's like, hey, you.
And they're thinking like, we just have to take down, or this will not even take down, but this is going to be a very easy fight.
Right. And guess what? From the perspective of Apollo, that's not a high and mighty position.
Right.
They're literally picking a dude who does exhibition matches in church basements.
Right.
And you're the world heavyweight fighter. It's not presumptuous or evil to be like, I'm going to box someone and win.
Especially if we look at our statuses here.
Yes.
You can't even compare.
I did love that book. Apparently there's just a book with every boxer.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like, I really want to know what it says under Rocky's.
I know.
So it's like, Robert Balboa, the Italian stallion, contact Mickey's gym. Apparently, that's like how you find him, because Rocky doesn't have a phone.
Right.
Okay. Paulie. Burt Young.
Paulie.
We didn't talk about Rocky, but you texted me. What did you say about Paulie?
I said Paulie needs a wet finger in his ear.
Yes.
And it's not me, because I don't want, my finger touching that wax.
No.
But he just needs someone to come behind him, stick that wet finger in his ear, and he's got to shake that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paulie needs a wedgie.
Paulie needs wet finger in the ear, a wedgie, and a noogie.
And a swirly.
Yes.
Were you ever around a swirly? Were you ever witness to a swirly?
We've talked about this on Freaks and Geeks.
Oh.
But I don't remember your answer. Me, no. And because I've always wanted to know the logistics of, like, how do you have to lift someone up? Does this actually ever happen to anybody?
Right. Yeah. Michelle's referring to our series Weirdcast on patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast, where we go through every episode of Freaks and Geeks one at a time. Good series, by the way.
It's great. It's really our origin story.
If I had to put something up there to be like proud of, I'd be like, oh, it's Freaks and Geeks. Probably because I love it so much too, but
I know I thought about rewatching it last night.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway. Paulie sucks.
He's so polarizing and erratic, and there's like this switch that happens, and I'm like, did I miss something? Like, why are we so angry all of a sudden?
Yeah.
What is your problem? And when I brought that up to Ant's like, he's just a drunk. And I was like, okay, but like, no, there's you're jealous. You have nothing going on in your life.
Yeah. That's definitely part of it.
Sure.
After one of him and Rocky's interactions, we see him, drinking at work, which to drink at work, like, you got a problem.
Yeah.
But I don't think that alcohol is the cause of Paulie being a jerk.
No.
It's just part of it. Rocky and Paulie are friends, best friends.
So it
apparently.
Seems.
And neither of them are happy with their life. Paulie is more of the angry type, where Rocky is more of the accepting type. He's just like, hey, this is my life. But like, what do we see Paulie do, and what do we learn about him? We see him wanting to leave his job to be an enforcer.
Right. He wants Rocky to hook him up with Gazzo.
Yeah, which doesn't pay a lot.
No.
And so he's just trying for anything. Like, he's dissatisfied with what he's doing. Him and Rocky are best friends. He's Adrian's brother. They mention how Adrian is almost 30. So how old is Paulie supposed to be? 32?
Right. And like, Paulie seems into the idea of Rocky dating his sister. He very much supports it and sets up this date. But then it's like when we finally get dating, he reacts, and that.
Well, I think it's because he sees now, all right, Rocky and I are on this same level. Oh, but now he's doing better than me.
That's right.
Because now he has love in his life. And now I'm going to maybe be losing my free cook and housekeeper.
So these two share a house. We're assuming the parents died.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could do a whole character study on Paulie.
Absolutely.
He's the most interesting character to me.
He's the villain, and usually the villains are.
That's true, I guess. But even at the end, is he still the villain? He's not, because it all works out.
Well, again, like, this movie tricks you. This movie tricks you into thinking it's a feel-good movie, and it's not. And you have to see Rocky 2 if you don't go very much further, because what I will say is Rocky 2 picks up immediately where the fight ends. They're in the hallways underneath the Coliseum. Like, it picks up exactly where we end, and it continues. And now what is Rocky when he has $150,000?
Yeah, like, who is that character?
Right. But Paulie, so we see him, he wants to leave his job. We see him contacting the news to get them to come in and film the meet. We see him trying his hand at advertising. He's trying all these different things because he's so unsatisfied with where he is in life. And this is 1970s inner city America. He is not happy. He is partaking in the American dream, but he doesn't have any shot to better himself. And Rocky gets that. And I can't remember what Mickey says. Mickey calls it like a freak fluke or a freak miracle that this is, because this never happened.
This
never happens.
Nuts.
Right. This opportunity that he gets. And there is a lot of, mentions of like your shot. Like, what is your shot? Are you going to take your shot? And Paulie doesn't have one. And he's frustrated, but he's going about it all the wrong ways. He's just straight up abusive to Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing the turkey out. Please walk me through you watching throwing out the Thanksgiving turkey.
First off, it's Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And so Paulie's like, hey, come over. My sister knows you're coming. Come have turkey with us. You come over for Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, great. And the whole walk and talk over there, Rocky asks a couple of times, your sister knows I'm coming, right? Your sister, oh yeah, she's excited. Okay, we get in the house. As soon as we get in the house, Paulie's like, Adrian, you're going out to eat with Rocky. Oh, but I made a turkey. So throw the turkey out. You're going out with Rocky. And then we have the whole, like, she locks herself in the bedroom and he has to talk her out. It is Thanksgiving. Why do we have to throw the turkey out? Why can't they three of them just have Thanksgiving dinner together? And where are you going on this date on Thanksgiving night? This bothered me so much. Again, from a logistical standpoint, it did not make sense. I get the date where we go, and I like that.
I don't that.
You don't like the skating, the ice skating?
It's not that I don't like the skating. It's that now, listeners, something that you might not know about me is that I am old. 36 years old. And in my day, there were these things called dates. And you tried to make a date something good. And of course, you're limited on funds, right? As a kid, you don't have a car. Times are tough, okay? Rocky's boss gives him $50 to take out his date. And then Rocky is negotiating the price of the rink. Come on.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And we don't see anything. Like, they don't get food afterwards. She says she's not hungry. He's just like,
Yep. And that's Rocky. You have to, you just have to stop and say, this is Rocky. Like, he's nervous. He's talking. He's whatever. Right. And we know that he likes her. Right. But like, your plan, you didn't have a plan.
Well, he thought he was going to dinner at their house.
That's true. That I will give.
Like, why didn't Rocky say, yo, Paulie, like, we're going to have Thanksgiving dinner. Your sister made a turkey. And And why did we plant this on Thanksgiving? I get that we're having the fight January 1st or whenever it was, but I'm just like, wow. Do it the day after Thanksgiving or something.
Right.
That just this is a dumb thing to harp on, but it really bothered me.
Right. And I think too, you have to bring kind of like mental illness into the conversation with Paulie. Something's not right. Like this dude is not right in the head, because if you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to set up Rocky and my sister. It's been years. Maybe they like each other. I'm going to do something nice. He doesn't do that at all. How does it benefit you as Paulie to throw out a Thanksgiving turkey?
Also, Paulie, don't you work in a butcher?
Well, yeah, that too.
So you probably brought home that turkey and then you're just throwing out money? What are you eating?
Right. It's erratic and it's crazy. Right. And so you have to stop and be like, Paulie is erratic and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
When he's taking the baseball bat to Rocky, and it's like, yeah, sure, you got a bat, but you're also Paulie.
Like, Rocky will destroy you if he wanted
Rocky
to.
Rocky will murder you.
Like, it's insane.
With a single punch.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I will say is Burt Young plays Paulie wonderfully. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this role. I hate Paulie. He sucks so much, but the movie needs a villain.
Yeah.
And again, to Stallone's credit, you're putting in this really conflicted character. You and I are writing a sports movie, let's say. You're going to make the sidekick character your buddy, your best friend, a psycho who throws out a turkey. Why not just make him the goofy Paulie who works at the meat shop? He's like, hey, Rocky, come beat up this cow.
Yeah.
Why would you make Paulie this way? And it rounds it out, and it fills out a movie with a really low budget where you can't film tons and tons of boxing scenes. In fact, the very end, they had to reshoot and they didn't have any extras. That's why everything is close up. There's no one in the crowd.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the producers of this had to sign saying if they went over budget that they would be liable for the overages. And so they had to put their house, they had to remortgage their house to get the money to finish the movie.
Wow.
So what do you want to make? Do you want to make a Disney fairy tale movie? He didn't want to make that. And that's why we get all this craziness. And I think it makes the movie so much better.
No, I agree.
It's just so frustrating to watch.
Yes. And it does work. And I do like that Paulie is the villain and not Apollo in this movie.
Yes. So let's talk about the end, the fight. Now, again, I want to picture you. You've just watched this movie that's like dialogue.
Yeah.
The greatest sports movie ever made, right?
Yeah.
And it's just people talking.
Yes, that's exactly it.
So we get to the fight. How did you find the fight and the ending? How did you, what are you thinking?
Okay. So, well, first off, the mic dropping into the ring. I was like,
great shot.
When do Seth and I get to do something like this? Like next live show, our mics need to be lowered. Love that. You know, I don't really watch boxing, so I was a little confused as it went on, and no one has made it past a certain round.
Yep.
So I'm glad Anthony actually was with me, because then he was like, oh, no, this is a big deal because no one has gotten past this round with Apollo. And so the fact that Rocky has gotten past this point and keep going, and then, of course, we get the nose breaking, which was a thing in the beginning of the film of Rocky saying, like, no one has broken my nose before.
No one's ever broken 62 fights.
No one has touched it. So
I've had people chewing on my nose.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
I was very squeamish with the cutting of the eye.
Cutting of the eye.
I felt like that was a shock moment, because you're watching, okay, and then we get to that point, and Rocky's like, you just gotta cut it. And I was like,
gotta cut it.
Are you what?
Yeah, because your face is taking so much trauma, and your body is filling up.
Yeah,
you're swelling,
and the blood,
getting all this blood, and so you can't see unless you cut it and release all that blood.
Yeah.
And then they have these things that they'll like rub in the wound to like get it to close.
Like a liquid Band-Aid almost?
It's like a piece of metal, I believe.
Okay.
It's intense. It is really wild. And it's all just so that you can keep fighting, Because if not, you could just pummel a dude and then he's like, I can't see. I guess the fight's over.
Right. I thought it looked great. I mean, it looked bloody. It looked authentic to me.
Mm-hmm. But then he doesn't win.
Were you
expecting that?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. But in a way, he did win because he proved to himself that he could make it past. And that was the point, right? The point was to stay in the ring and for Apollo to be shocked, like, oh, this guy came to play. To not be a bum. To not be a bum.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, this is a love story. So
much so that when the announcer is like saying who won and everything, it's so much in the background. Like you don't even hear it. You don't get that like sports movie moment of like holding the hands up and this and that. It's just Adrian and Rocky like yelling to each other.
I mean, okay, to be honest.
Yeah.
I laughed.
Sure.
Because I was like, oh, and you can't help but laugh. Like, Adrian! I cannot help it. I shouldn't. And then ends and Ant was like, isn't this so beautiful? It's just so beautiful. I mean, everything that Rocky says, Ant's like, all these lines, they're just so beautiful. I'm like, okay. Ant sips the Rocky Kool-Aid like real hard. Yeah. What do you think about the ending? Do you love it?
I mean, I think it's pretty great to not have him win.
Yeah, but like to me, he did win.
Well, right, but like to actually win.
This to me is better than a win.
Right. Because it's the spiritual win. It's the win of character.
You're proving something to yourself.
Right.
Also proving something to Apollo, like, oh wow, this is a real contender.
Yeah. And again,
a rematch is coming.
Rocky 2 is the rematch.
Yes,
and now it's different. It's a totally different.
I can imagine.
Story. Yeah, but yeah, I love it. I mean, I think it's a great ending, and I think ending it there. Originally, there was a different ending where everyone leaves, and it's Rocky and Adrian like leaving the theater holding hands, and that image had been used on posters and stuff. And it was actually Bill Conti, the composer, who was like, don't do that. You can't. It had to do with like the length of time. I read a very interesting interview with Bill Conti where he was talking about like the creation of the score, how originally it was only 90 seconds. And then the director kept being like, we need you to add 30 seconds. And then we need you to add another 30 seconds. So it was very like, it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to create this beautiful piece of art. It was all just math, It was like, this is what we need. Okay, let me turn it out. The singers on the song were coworkers of his wife. He worked at a radio station, and he called her and he was like, is there anyone there who can sing? And they came over on their lunch break and recorded and didn't get paid and then just left.
Wow.
So this was very scrappy stuff.
And it's so iconic. It's wild.
He got paid, I think he said $25,000, which is good, but he was responsible for creating it, which meant he had to rent the recording space. He had to write it. He was like, I had to buy my own paper out of that $25,000.
Wow.
And I had watched something totally unrelated to any of this that had Bill Conti, and it was in his house, and he was like, this is the house that Rocky built. He was like, I did that song, and it was just kind of like, sure, I'll do it. And it turned out to be the biggest. I mean, we're going to wrap up, but I feel like I cannot not mention that theme.
I mean, it's the theme along with the sequence up the stairs.
Right.
Come on. It's pretty great.
I mean, that is American DNA, right?
Yeah. Talk about just inspiration instantly. Motivation, here I come. I can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it really elevates the rest of the movie because there's not a ton of score.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you said, Before Sunrise, very simple, just performances, just good cinematography. And then you just get pummeled with like one of the greatest recorded scores in American film history.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. And then, yeah, obviously, you know, when it comes back in during the fight, you're like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Yeah. So this movie was made for $1.1 million. Highest earner for 1976. Goes on to make $225 million at the box office.
Holy smokes.
Massive, massive cultural moment. Huge movie. Like you said, you're sitting down to watch this for the first time, and you probably already know most of the main beats. I mean, him drinking eggs and stuff.
That I didn't know. I mean, that, and I was like, oh my God, Gaston. And Aunt was like, Gaston got inspired by Rocky. And I was like, okay, Aunt, please just.
Oh, definitely.
You know, probably,
definitely.
right. But everything is just like, Rocky is this all great.
Would you ever drink eggs?
No. Mm-mm.
No?
No.
Okay.
Although I've had a cocktail that had egg white foam.
One egg in one cup. How much money?
I just don't want to do it.
$100?
No.
$1,000?
But like, what if I get sick, you know?
You won't.
What do you mean?
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Oh, so there's like no chance of me getting sick?
There's no chance of you getting sick.
Oh.
One egg, $1,000.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's the main thing, is getting sick. So like, honestly, I'd probably, if you came over and you're like, yo, Mitch, let's just like down an egg right now, I'd be like, okay.
Now, if we did a live show on Rocky and we cracked eggs into the cup.
Actually, how funny would it be? People would think we did it, but we wouldn't.
Well, I would do it and then drink them and then just immediately throw up.
Give me my bucket.
Yeah, like, no, I can't. Oh, gosh. We talked about egg drinking in mouths in Tampopo.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I thought of that.
Yeah, this blows Tampopo out of the water.
It would be, hold your nose down the hatch.
Right. But it's like, Rocky, just cook them.
There's no time.
I know you're waking up early.
There's no time. Although, the cooking maybe takes resources. We're using oil or electric or whatever. But this movie is just like, it's got so much masculinity in it, you know? The testosterone in it. Yeah. It's just like, let me just punch meat there.
But you know what, though? You know what, though? I don't mind it in this movie because it's about a boxer.
No, I get it. But that, to me, cooking the eggs is a different Rocky. It's a different person.
Okay.
Rocky drinks the raw eggs. Someone else.
I think Rocky drinks the raw eggs because Rocky's a little dumb.
No, because I think Apollo cooks his eggs.
Because Apollo is smart. Come on, like.
No, but it's just like a way of living. It's just a different class.
Yeah.
It's
and again, if you continue with the Rocky movies, that starts to switch.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like tonight I'll tell Aunt we can watch Rocky 2 and I'll become wife of the year. So
right, yeah,
something I can keep in my pocket for when I'm like, well, hey, remember that time I let you watch Rocky 2?
Look, man, message out there to all of you spouses: if your spouse wants to watch a movie, and that's gonna make them happy,
I know.
Watch that movie.
No, I know. In all seriousness, I don't ever keep cards like that. I don't want to come off like I'm an awful person. That's not how I operate, I promise.
Michelle's like, all right, we'll watch Rocky 2, but then we got to watch Taxi. So Rocky currently has a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.1 on Letterboxd, 70 on Metacritic. It is not in the Criterion Collection, but it was inducted into the National Registry in 2006. Ebert gave this 4 stars on its release, too.
Wow.
That wasn't a revisit. Yeah. And they shot this over 28 days.
Wow.
All right, let's get into our happies and crappies.
It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crappies. It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crappies. It's time for happies.
Would you like to go first?
Sure. My happy is Rocky having his fish, Moby Dick, and his 2 turtles, Cuff and Link, hang out. Although I couldn't help but notice that their tanks were really small, but I'll let it pass. Also love butt kiss. My crappy is Polly throwing out a perfectly good turkey.
My happy is Talia Shire / Adrian and her evolving outfits.
Mm.
And then my crappy is Sylvester Stallone. Not as an actor, not as a writer, just the story of him around this movie. And I will once again say ESPN 30 for 30, The Real Rocky, directed by Jeff Feuerzeig. You need to watch it. Everybody, if you like Rocky, if you want to hear the story of an underdog fighter versus someone with a lot of money, you need to watch that documentary.
Wow.
So we asked some friends on Twitter what they had to say. And you know what? Not a lot of responses. I was like, oh yeah, we're doing Rocky. This is like a slam dunk. Everyone's going to be Adrianing all over the place.
And yet it could happen to you. Get so many.
It could happen to you. Oh yeah, that's what we did this week. We did a practical April Fool's joke.
We did. Yeah. LOL, the amount of time we spent going back and forth on that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Power of John at John Cleta.
John Cleta, hi. You started following us on Instagram and, commented, said he came to see our face swapping.
From Face Off.
Yeah, so hopefully you've seen it by now.
He says the first Rocky always felt like it was more of a love story between Rocky and Adrian with some boxing on the side. He may love boxing, but he loves her even more. Perhaps the theme of love conquers all could be applied. Still terrific, but I enjoyed the sequel even more. And I agree on the sequel, by the way. Camp Crystal Jake at Silver Bandit 36.
Wow. Great name. The whole thing.
Now, Camp Crystal Jake, he paints. Yeah, he does these like smaller canvas. He'll do like people from movies, whatever. And so he didn't really have a comment. Well, he said Rocco, but he posted this painting that he did of Sylvester Stallone as Rocky. Isn't that awesome?
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty great, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. So we didn't get a big response from Twitter, but we did get some more people commenting on Instagram. So thank you very much to everyone who commented on Instagram. So over on Instagram, JMT Podcast said it's arguably one of, if not the best underdog story, even if Paulie is trash. Rashawn Jamal.
Hey, friend.
Hey, how are you? Says, honestly, don't remember it.
That's great.
I was a Rocky 3 and 4 guy. Will be cool to revisit it. Fan _ Dan.
Dan, hi.
Good friend and patron Dan, who also paints and does.
He's an artist, yes.
Artist, all-around guy. Says one of the greatest sports movies of all time. Stallone is so raw here in a career best. Andrew.Corns.
Wow, another
good friend of the show.
Yes.
Yeah. Says, not the best film of 1976. Sorry, Oscars. But still great and influential. Rocky 3 is greater than the rest.
Okay, so this is the consensus here is I have to keep going.
Well, that's a fun thing about the Rocky movies is seeing which one is everyone's favorite. Pretty much universally, 5 people don't like 5. I liked it. It's not the best. But you got Rocky 2, which is the showdown with Apollo, the rematch. You got Rocky 3, which is Clubber Lang, Mr. T, which is like a whole new version. Again, like things kind of start to flip a little bit. And then Rocky 4 is famous for Ivan Drago, played by Dolph Lundgren, which was the America versus Russian. And Dolph Lundgren is like 6'8", and Sylvester Stallone is like 5'10".
When does Milo come?
Rocky Balboa.
What is Rocky Balboa? Rocky Balboa is not 5 or 6.
Rocky Balboa is number 6.
Oh God.
It's when Rocky is like older now. Much older.
Can I just skip to 6? I feel like everybody's screaming, why would you do that? And it's like, because I'm me. No, I wouldn't do that. I do like to go in order of a story.
You can. I would say you can because they're going to fill you up on whatever. It's not like 2. Like, again, 2 picks up right where 1 ends.
Yeah.
6 picks up years after the events of 5 even. So it's kind of a new thing. All you have to know is that Rocky was a fighter. They'll explain everything else. But I would say go on the journey with Anthony, watch through them. And then finally, _Kyle_Durand says, kind of the perfect screenplay. Absolutely impossible not to get caught up in it.
Thank you.
So there's some people that we do know. Now we go to a segment of the show where we hear from people that we don't know. It's called 0.5 star, 3 star, 5 star. 0.5 star, 3 star, 5 star. So these are reviews from letterboxd.com, which is a website and an app where you can rate, log, and review movies. We start with a 0.5 star review, which is the lowest rating that you can give a film. We go all the way to a 5 star, which is the highest rating that you can give a film. Do you have a request for the voice for the 0.5 star review?
Mickey.
You're a bum.
You got it.
You know you are. You're a tomato. I would love to get a tattoo of Mickey. And like it's got like a banner, like kind of like a saint.
Yes.
But like Mickey's enshrined in like a big tomato.
And you got to get the beanie like barely on his head.
Yes. The beanie is the halo.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Perfect.
Okay. Boring. Too much testosterone that could not be tempered by the melodramatic arc. Also, his chasing after the female protagonist is mad creepy and really goes to show how people have no understanding of boundaries. 0.5 star.
You sounded like the guy from the 90s. It was like a PSA for don't smoke because he had his trachea.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, boring, huh?
Boring. Too much testosterone.
Too much.
Okay.
3
star review says, really glad I had subtitles on for this one.
Oh my God, I said that halfway through. I was like, thank God I have captions on because this would be really hard, I think, to capture it all.
And 5 star review says, one of the best of the 70s and one of my favorite Best Picture winners. Just packed to the brim with heart and grit, Stallone shines in his signature role. And I will say that I hate Best Picture winners. This is one of the ones that's good. It's not the best of 1976, I will say, but they at least didn't pick a movie that absolutely sucks. All right, so we rate a movie as a schmovie, movie, or film. We rate it 1 through 5 stars and give our final recommendations. You and I have been in a drought, and I got to say, this is an Apollo Creed story because I was so confident going in, and now after talking to you, I said that you were going to rate this. I said that you were going to rate this a 4.5 star film.
Are you nutso?
No.
Why 4.5 film?
Because it's good. I don't know.
Well, I'm feeling very. Your 4.5 film is going to be like what I put down for you. Not. It's the wrong answer. I'm rating this a 3.8, 4 stars to make it easy for Letterboxd movie.
Good. Okay.
I'm recommending it. I think this is a very important piece of film history. We have the iconic score. I think this set us up for sports movies going forward. It's a good underdog story. Yeah, okay. It was good. Okay, for you, I put down 3.5 movie.
Wow. Whoa.
I don't know.
Okay. Now, I will say this. Rocky 2 is better.
Okay.
In almost every way, but it's a different movie. It's such a different movie. And like this one is so scrappy and strange and conflicted and more of a character study. But anyway, I would put Rocky at 4.5 film.
Whoa!
Yes.
So you actually wrote down your score for me.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah. Such great performances that I think are kind of undeniable. I think the few moments that make this like less than perfect is Rocky just suddenly getting mad and starting to punch the meat. Like, I know it leads us to kind of an iconic image and moment, but it's like, it just feels so odd when it happens. Yeah, not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, but it's really good. It's really good. I really enjoy it. And I do think that you need to watch it take it to task for the things that haven't quote unquote aged well, but also maybe stop and think, what was the intention?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing here? And look at how all of these characters are flawed and have inconsistencies within themselves. And yeah, that's it. So you and I are just out of step.
We've lost it.
This. Yeah,
we
haven't gotten any
longer
pickles.
understand each other.
Right. So going over to our pickle tally, Michelle has won 3 pickles and I have won 5. But you know what? That's okay.
That's okay.
So does Rocky pass the Seth Shell test? The Seth Shell test is our spin on the Bechdel test, and it is as follows. This movie must contain something tangible that is impressive, whether choreography, production design, or practical effect, and it must have a runtime that is justified by its content. For me, I'm going to say yes to both.
I'm also going to say yes to both. I thought the choreography was great. I thought the production design was great. And honestly, the runtime was okay for me. I mean, there were a couple of parts where I was just like, let's speed this up a little bit. Like we're in the ring, and before we get into the fight, even though the fight is so short compared to the rest of the movie, I was like, come on already. Let's just get to the fighting.
He looks like a flag.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's like when we're at the rink.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy's counting down the minutes. And I'm like, this is making me feel like I'm counting down the minutes a little bit.
Yes.
And Rocky is just talking about himself. And it's like, come on, man. Ask her a question about herself.
Yeah.
What are your hopes and dreams, Adrian?
What's your favorite animal, Adrian?
Hey, if we're your favorite animal or podcast, I don't know, and you haven't yet given us a rating and a review, we would love it if you would do that. Any platform that you're listening on, it really helps. When you do that, that tells the evil AI overlords that other people should listen to our show, and then it pushes our show to them. So, you know how you're a really socially awkward, maybe person who works in a pet store, and you don't want to walk up to someone on the street and say, you need to listen to Movie Friends? Boom. This is a way to introduce Movie Friends to people without ever having to open your mouth.
That was an interesting way to go about that, but proud of how you got there.
Sometimes you just start talking and hope you get there. Also, please send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about Rocky, sports movies, Nicolas Cage, the lottery. What are you doing?
The lottery.
You got any projects you're working on this year? You know what? Send it to us. We'll read it out, hold you accountable.
Absolutely.
Boom.
Let's do that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our additional episodes. You also get commercial-free versions of all of our episodes, access to our patron-only Discord, where you get to talk to us about movies that you're watching, your cat, things that you're eating. You get to vote on a monthly movie and every quarter an entire theme. Michelle's Inner Circle, where you get to decode a secret message at the end of every episode. And you get to support an independent podcast that, you know what? You listen to us week in and week out, month after month, year after year. And you've always said to yourself, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And today is the day.
Now is the time.
Now is the time. Unless you're driving.
Right. Send yourself a voice memo. When I get home, I'm going to go support Movie Friends.
Send us an email.
Yeah.
That says, you know what? I'm going to sign up. Okay. So next week, we are doing your pick.
We are. Next week, we're going to be talking about Bend It Like Beckham from 2002. It's 112 minutes streaming on Hulu. Seth, have you seen this?
I have not seen this.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Never seen it. And I know almost nothing about it other than Beckham is a
football player.
David Beckham.
Yes.
Yeah, David Beckham is a football player. And so I'm going to assume at some point in the movie, someone has to bend it like Beckham.
Ooh. There you go.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to be able to watch that for the first time. And yeah, that was Rocky. Hey, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Seth. Finally have seen Rocky.
It's a big one.
It's a huge one. I mean, versions or other ones have been on in my house before. I just never paid attention. So.
Yep. You've begun your journey.
The journey has begun.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. And remember, folks, Del Rio is spelled DELRIO. Until next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean-Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.
Incoming. Message incoming. Message to Michelle's inner circle. Remember, kids, only Michelle's inner circle can decipher this week's message. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
Message number 1373 47 66 56 66 46 33 96 82 55 43 46 59 46 63 96 82 55.
Michelle is counting on you. Do not let her down.